Hello, everybody. I think someone heard me. How is everyone tonight? It's so great to see you guys. Hello, she's a maker. I'm so happy y'all got rain. Hello, C-Rex, my love. Hello, Nana Laura. Hello, Sir Philip. You are being goofy. Joey Bag of Donuts, thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful sleep. Thank you so much for stopping by and for gifting the membership. I appreciate that so much. Don't you dare. I told you leave it. Those are the cat's treats. That's cat food. That is not Ava food. That's cat food. Yeah. Act like you don't know. Hello, CE. Oh my gosh. Hello, Shane. Hello, Janet. Oh, golly. I would love thunderstorms every day. That would be like my haven. I love lightning and thunderstorms. They give me so much peace. I was so excited. I got the editing done kind of early. I was texting my friend and saying, I'm going to get to go on early tonight. And I hit export and jumped in the shower, expecting that when I got done, it would be done. And I got out of the shower and it was only at like 46% in an hour. And I'm like, there's no way. It's not going to be done until 11 o'clock. And I was just about spot on. So I didn't get to come on early like I was expecting to, but I'm here. And I think it was because the amount of editing that went into the first case. It's in Judge Simmons' room, and every person that spoke was at a different volume, and it had to be manually adjusted. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. I did my best though. I worked on it for a few hours yesterday, and I worked on it for a bunch of hours today, and it is enjoyable now. It would not have been without the adjustments. But I hope you guys enjoy it. That's the most important part. Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. She's got me trained. Yep, they all do. I've been trying to get them trained on those buttons. And, just when I think they understand something about it, then they just get all lazy again and expect me just to hand them treats. Like, oh, golly. Maybe someday I can come visit you. I interrupt your sanctuary. I'm sorry. I'll take it over just for a few days. Just let me lay there and enjoy the lightning and thunderstorms. That's all I want to do. Joe Punk, I saw someone saying hi to you. There you are. Hello, sweetie. I guess this is Ava's way of saying hello to everyone, too. I know. You're spoiled, baby girl. You're very, very spoiled, baby girl. But thank you so much for asking how I was doing, by the way. It, you know, it is what it is. If you guys were to go watch it on your own, it's what you would have. Having the volumes all over the place is what you would have gotten. But that's why you come here. I put the work in to make it so that you can understand what everybody says and follow the case along a little easier. Even though we usually, talk in the chat and then everybody's going, "What's going on? Wait, what happened?" Because we're not paying any attention. We're talking about, kangaroos and fly swatters and whatever. Yeah, hi Sherry B. That's exactly it. This is my wave to them. It's I love you in sign language. It's not pets on top of head. Well, I guess because I love you. So you're just excited every time I say it to them. Well, I'm not using it for content creation. I'm more using it. I want Ava to use the outside button when she has to go outside. I mean, really, I could give 2 squirts less about any of the other ones. But that one would be super helpful to me. Being able to understand Ava, whether she has to go outside or whether she's hungry, because those are really the only 2 modes of Ava. That would be super helpful for me. And I've seen some that really do get it. I've seen a lot of them that, Billy speaks. You can't tell me he didn't know what he was saying. What about Bunny? I know Bunny knows things. Yeah, it's been more than a few weeks. They still haven't gotten it. Maybe I'm the problem. But trying, and they haven't gotten it yet. Hello, Shauna. Great to see you, honey. All right, guys. So tonight, what we have, it's a bench trial in Judge Simmons' courtroom. And the entire argument is they were attempting to arrest him on an assumed name that wasn't his. It was just that he took the wrong person's college badge to get into the college hallway to try to sleep. And unfortunately, that student had warrants. He did too. But how bad luck is that? You steal somebody's identity and you accidentally get the guy who has warrants also. So the cops came to take him away. And he didn't like that. Not even a little bit. And that's the defense's argument, is you had no right to arrest him because you thought they were someone else's warrants, not his. Even though he had warrants. When you tried to arrest him, you were trying to arrest him on someone else's warrants. So the arrest is voided. That's the argument. Yeah, I'm only really focusing on the 2. Outside and food. Well, okay, 3, because pets is also a button. And that one I really do think Ava understands. Yeah, it's pets, food, and outside. Those are the 3 buttons that I'm focusing on with them. Right? I kind of think that way too. Well, I used to think that. Now I kind of love my life. Excuse me. Now I absolutely love my life, and nobody's ever going to be able to take this from me. Oh, thank you, sweetie. It'll take time. Ava's cute, but she's dumb as a post. I'm sorry, y'all. She really is. But she's the best baby. She gives the best love. Best love ever. Cuddles with me every night. Hugs and kisses. And she's so sweet. She's just not smart. All right, let's get into it. Come on, computer, you can do it. Maybe. There we go. Man, that took a minute. Both of my computers are super, super slow tonight. Oh, man. Like I said, 2 hours to export a video that really should not have taken that long.
Versus Jamar McReynolds. This is file number 24-00202. FY, council appearance.
Morning, Your Honor. Markarian appearing on behalf of the people.
And Assistant Public Defender Sarah Donnelly on behalf of the defendant Jamar McReynolds, who is present to my right.
Okay, Mr. McReynolds, thank you for your patience. Today was the date and the time that was scheduled for a non-jury trial. And the defendant has elected to waive his right to a jury trial, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and so I think this is a matter that we just have officer witnesses.
Yes, Your Honor, too.
Okay, any preliminary matters before we take testimony?
No, no.
Your Honor, I did discuss the exhibit. The only exhibit I plan to play is Officer Bakri's body worn camera. I discussed it with Ms. Donnelly. I didn't know if we had a stipulation to it or not, but
Well, you're gonna call Mr. Buckley, right? So you don't need me to stipulate his body on camera. I was gonna have Sheldon have his body on camera as part of my cross, so we'll just establish that.
we'll do it as it comes. Yep, no preliminary matters, Your Honor. We're ready to go.
Thank you for your witness. You can have a seat, sir.
People call Officer Derek Selden to the stand.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give us the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
I do.
Thank you. Can have a seat. Can you state your first and last name and spell both?
First and last, Derek Selden. There's D-E-R-E-K, last S-E-L-D-E-N.
See, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Officer Selden. Thank you for hanging out for a while for us. Are you currently employed?
I am
Where?
with the Lansing Police Department.
How long have you been employed with the Lansing Police Department?
I've been with them on the road patrol since January of this year.
So you said road patrol. Just to be clear, what is your current rank and assignment?
Police Officer 1, assigned to the road patrol, currently on our noon shift.
You generally describe what your typical duties as a road patrol officer include?
Yes, everything from patrolling and going with self-initiated activities such as traffic stops, keeping an eye out for whatever that may be, as well as responding to calls for service, both for emergency and non-emergency situations.
I'm going to take you to the date of January 26th, 2024 at around 1:34 a.m. Were you on duty in that same rank and assignment at that date and time?
Yes, I was.
At some point, did you respond to the location of 600 North Grand Avenue, Lansing?
Yes, I did.
Was that response around 1:34 a.m.?
It was.
Do you know what's at that location of 600 North Grand Avenue?
That's a parking ramp for LCC.
Now, we've stated that you were on duty at that time. To be clear, what kind of clothing were you wearing?
I was wearing my full patrol uniform with name tag says Lansing Police Department badge.
Is that clearly visible to people around you?
Yes, it is.
What kind of car were you?
I was in my fully marked patrol car.
Did you respond to that location?
I did.
Why?
We were called there to assist LCC Police Department and an officer there stating that a male was sleeping in their stairwell.
Objection, Your Honor. This is hearsay, so I just want to put on the record.
Do you want to respond to the objection?
Not for the truth of the matter, sir, just for the next steps.
Objections overruled.
Please continue. Why did you respond?
We were called there. LCC PD was there requesting our assistance removing the subject from the stairwell in that room.
Do you have any information? Well, one moment, let me just back up that. Lansing Community College parking garage, is that in Ingham County,
It is.
state of Michigan?
It is.
Do you have any information as to why Lansing Community College Police wanted this individual removed?
At the time, they stated that the subject was sleeping in a stairwell somewhere that not meant for subjects to be sleeping in, and it was after hours.
Let's fast forward a little bit to your arrival on scene. What happened when you arrived on scene?
Made contact with the officer there. I believe his name was Officer Selleck. Stated that the subject was sleeping in the stairwell and that he already had identified him and they showed a warrant out of Lansing. And then from there, we went to make contact with that subject in the stairwell.
In your training and experience as a police officer, have you had to identify suspects?
I have.
Can you tell us whether or not that Lansing Community College identification that the officer originally provided you was accurate? No?
After the fact or at the time of what we
After the fact, did it ultimately end up being the right person, the one the Lansing Community College officer told
It
you?
was not.
Nonetheless, did you make contact with that subject who was sleeping in the stairwell?
Yes, I did.
Could you describe what that subject looked like?
He was a taller black male, probably about 6'2". At the time, he had, can't remember exactly his hair. I know he had facial hair and he was laying in the stairwell exactly where I said it would be.
We're looking at January of this year.
Yes.
Can you describe what kind of clothing he was wearing?
I cannot recall this.
Don't worry, we'll get to see him.
Do you recognize that suspect in the courtroom here today?
I do.
Please identify them by an article of clothing they're wearing and point them out.
They're wearing the American security shirt.
Please let the record reflect, Your Honor, Officer Selden has identified the defendant as the suspect that he interacted with that.
Any objections on identification?
No, Your Honor.
Identification is noted.
Could you describe what happened in the stairwell when you made contact with the subject?
In the stairwell, I had entered, I identified myself as police, stated to the subject that he had been identified by LCC and they were showing a warrant. He's gonna be under arrest for the warrant and go from there, see if the county that was out of had wanted him. At that time, he became immediately defensive, saying, no, don't have a warrant, don't touch me. He began to stand up, put his shoes on, started packing up his stuff as if he was going to leave. After I already had advised him that he was going to be under arrest for it.
When you told him that he was going to be under arrest and he needed to leave, what were you attempting to do?
Place him under arrest and then go from there to check if the county that the warrant was out of wanted him to be transported.
What did he do when you told him he was gonna be under arrest, when you commanded him?
He first pulled away from me when I was trying to help him stand up to then place him in handcuffs. He said, "Don't touch me." After he stood up, he took a kind of fighting boxing stance and said, "Do not touch me, I will fight you." Balled up his fist and raised them as if he was going to fight us at that time.
What happened next?
After that, I believe he had reached down to pick up a coat that he had laying across the bag. I believe he'd been using it as a pillow. At that time, my partner initiated contact with him, and all officers on scene, including myself, grabbed a hold of him, went up, kind of wrestling him to the ground, taking him to custody on the ground.
Now, aside from taking him into custody and whatever booking procedure you all have, did anything else happen after that point, after you were able to remove him that the court should know about?
After that point, we had searched him, got him into our back seat, and then began confirming the warrant. When we ran the warrant that the LCC officer had advised, he had, we recognized that the subject that we had was not the same as in that warrant. And then my partner began finding that deeds again properly.
Who
So
was
your
your,
partner did what? Repeat what you said?
To get him properly identified after we realized that the information given us by the LCC officer was incorrect.
who was your partner?
Officer Backer.
Would Officer Bakri be better to ask about the process of identifying the suspect?
Yes.
No further questions for this witness at this time. Thank you, Your Honor.
Trust me.
Morning, Officer Selden.
Good morning.
So, so it's your testimony that you were dispatched that night, for, an unwanted subject, basically, or what was the original call?
Unwanted subject, trespassing to be removed.
And, when you were, did you know before arriving the suspect's potential identity?
Yes, or so we had thought, from what the officer advised us.
So on the dispatch, you also got the information pointing to this person with a warrant that ended up not being the defendant.
I believe the information I was provided was that the subject in the stairwell was showing a warrant out of Lansing. However, it was not, the name that they thought was not put into the call notes for us to check on the way there.
Okay, so when you learned of the alleged name of the defendant when you arrived at the parking garage?
Correct.
Okay, and that's when you met with the Lansing community college officer?
Correct.
So he was the one that directly told you the name?
Yes.
All right, and then you proceeded to go into the stairwell, correct?
Correct.
And did you have to wake up Mr. McReynolds?
I believe so.
All right, so he was completely asleep when you entered the stairwell.
I believe so.
All right, and then there were 3 Lansing police officers in the stairwell at that time with the Lansing community the community college officer, right? So 4 officers in the stairwell.
Yes.
And you or any of the officers asked Mr. McReynolds his name?
I did not.
And why was that?
I advised him that the officer told us he has a warrant and that we would take care of anything else. He said I didn't have a warrant. We said, and I said, we can double check on that, everything. But first thing going comes because we have reason to believe you have a warrant. We'll get it all sorted out after that and take the handcuffs back off if it turns out you don't.
Okay. And you had what information from the Lansing Community College officer lent you to believe that this was who they were saying it was?
Just information. He told me, he said this is the name, and he's showing a warrant out of Lansing, out of you guys. He said he had identified him by a student ID, and it turned out later that it was from the scan of a student ID letting him into the stairwell.
Okay, and do you know if it, is that, do you typically, or Have you ever gotten any other calls for students in the stairwells at the Lansing Community College parking lot?
Not there at that time.
All right, and you were wearing your body worn camera that evening, correct, officer?
Correct.
All right, so, Your Honor, I do want to pull up his body worn camera. Do you want, do we do it on the Zoom?
These are closed.
Officer Selden, do you recognize your body worn camera?
Yeah.
Okay, does this look accurate and true or fair to your representation of what you witnessed or about to witness?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, Your Honor, and I'll start from the beginning and I'll just play.
And there's about 30 seconds in typical body cam fashion where it's video only.
Obviously, there's going to be sound, but we just have to wait.
The blonde guy that this officer just met up with, that's the Lansing College officer.
What's his name? Ontario, last name Ellis. Hey man, what's going on? Yeah, you just trying to stay warm?
Yes, I'm stepping on my. I try to go to the show.
All right.
So I try to go to the show. Look,
Can you pull that blanket off for me real quick? Just toss that off for me. You're good. Good. So you just trying to go to the shelter, but
I tried to go to the show, but so they didn't have no more beds there.
all right. Well, we got a warrant for you out of Lansing. I'll have to check. I believe it's for MDLP. All right.
There's a got look for it.
All right. We'll double check that. But for right now, stand up for me. Just stand up.
Can you not touch me, please?
If you stand up right now, I won't touch you. Otherwise, I'm about to put my hands up. Just stand up
I'm
for
gonna
me.
go. I'll walk away.
Stand up. Put the phone down. You have a warrant. You're gonna go on that right now. You're
I'm
gonna
not
arrest for
gonna
that
warrant.
warrant.
I ain't did it. I did nothing to nobody.
All right, good. I'm not arguing.
I'm simply keeping myself warm.
He's taking his sweet time putting his boots on right now. And probably plotting how he's going to get out of this. It is. There's a lot of homelessness in the United States, especially in big cities.
Stand up for me. Go ahead and put your hands behind your back for me.
Did you not touch me? Don't touch me. I ain't did nothing to nobody. I'm gonna fight you.
You have a warrant.
Don't touch me.
You have a warrant.
Don't touch me. I ain't did nothing to nobody. Let me report this.
Bro, put your hands behind your back. Bro.
I put my hands behind your head. Don't touch me, man. I ain't did shit to nobody.
Put your hands behind your back. Saying you have a warrant. If you don't, you'll come right back out of handcuffs. It's that easy. Come off just as fast, man.
I got 4 people, four cops harassing me. I ain't did shit to nobody.
You're arrested.
I'm not arresting nobody. Just leave me alone. Do it now. Pull this one back. I'm gonna get it again. I will walk away. Stay away from me. Don't be hitting me. I'm gonna let my lawyer Steve Howard know that y'all was hitting me. That's no harass me, man. Shit, none of y'all. Listen, you don't have to worry about that.
Being nice, man, just tell them what's going on.
You hit me one more time. Try it again. Hit me one more time. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm not George Floyd. I'm suing all y'all. You good with your service? Yes. So what's gonna happen? I need you to roll over to your button and just stand down. Thank you. Yeah. What all do you need? Make a phone call to my lawyer. That's fine. What all do you need over here from right now? All my property. Okay, we'll grab it.
We'll gather that in a minute.
Come on. Okay, stuff. Go to the passenger side of this one. You want to get it back down, so do it quickly. Yeah, it's in front. On one side. Would you like your seatbelt on? Come in. Would you like your seatbelt? Okay. I'm gonna put your seatbelt on. I need you to look to your left for me, okay? So I can do that. That's the only way it's put on, but that's the only reason I ask. Okay.
Give me your name, man. Alright, that's just your name. That's nothing incriminating. Alright.
Want to know my name? Ask Steve Howard.
Alright, I'll let you know. You are gonna have to give us your name at some point, man, alright?
Well, you're going to have to talk to Steve Howard, my attorney, then.
Okay. His wallet or something over there?
Yeah, we're bringing all that stuff. Is there
Okay.
a specific place that it is?
His wallet? No, I don't know, because he does want to talk to us. Give us his name.
Okay, that's fine.
Alright.
Your Honor, I'm gonna stop it there at 8 minutes and 43 seconds into it. So again, that is an accurate representation of what happened that evening, correct?
Correct.
And per your body worn camera, that's you asking finally for his identification after he's put in the back seat.
Yes.
All right. But again, no other officers asked him for his name before then.
Not that I know.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, I would move to, this is going to be a defense exhibit, proposed defense exhibit A.
No objection, Your Honor.
Defense A is submitted.
All right, can I approach, Your Honor? Yes. Yeah, they put this together. There's 3 files on there. It's going to be under the file name from the files. Okay. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Yes, Your Honor. Officer Selden, how long have you been an officer now?
That would be 9 months.
How long had you been an officer when this incident happened?
About 2 weeks. 3 weeks.
In the 9 months that you've been on the job, is it uncommon to identify suspects after they've been detained?
It's not.
Would you say it's common?
Yes.
Is that what happened in this case?
Yes.
We've heard about Quaterio Ellis, at least on the body cams. Do we know who that person is?
That was the name or student on the ID that we used to enter the building.
To be clear, is that the person that was put in your backseat?
It was not.
Is that the person you ultimately arrested?
It's not.
How do you know that?
Because we were able to eventually identify him with the state ID my partner had found on his person, and then verified that, and then
We heard something about a wallet in the end of that clip there. Is that how you went about identifying this person in court here today?
yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Ms. Finney, be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Smith.
People call Officer Bakri, Jamil Bakri.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give is the truth and the whole truth under penalty of perjury.
Yes, Your Honor.
You can have a seat. State your first and your last name and then spell both of them.
Okay. First name is Jamel, Jameil. Last name is Bakri, Bakri.
You see, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Officer Bakri. Thank you for hanging out for us for as long as you have. Are you currently employed?
I am.
How long? Or, excuse me, where are you employed?
With City of Lansing,
How long have you been employed with the city of Lansing?
just over 5 years.
What is your current rank and assignment?
I am a police officer and I work patrol.
Have you been assigned to patrol duty for the entire 5 years?
Yes.
Could you generally describe what your typical duties as a patrol officer are?
Responding to calls for service that are placed with our department.
When you respond for calls for service, how are you dressed?
A uniform that's much like the one that I have on, and a patrol car that is marked with police badge.
Would it be obvious to those around you that you're a police officer?
Yes.
On January 1st, or excuse me, January 26th of 2024 at around 1:34 a.m., were you on duty in that same capacity?
I was.
Did you respond to a location at 600 North Grand Avenue?
I did.
Do you know what's at that location?
It's the LCC or Lansing Community College gaming ramp.
And although this might be a little bit repetitive, just to be clear, were you in uniform and in a marked car like you described just a moment ago?
I was.
Why did you respond?
There was a call for service by a Lansing Community College officer stating that a Quaterio Ellis was inside of the east stairwell and that the subject had a warrant.
Do you know who Quaterio Ellis is?
Quaterio Ellis was the ID badge that was used to gain access to the premises. And that was pretty much what the call came in as.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, a call came in for Quaterio Ellis because someone else used Quaterio Ellis's car.
Correct. And that this person was sleeping in the stairwell on the second floor. So with it being the time that it was, there shouldn't be anybody on the premises. So
What time was it again?
around 01:34.
What's that in normal time?
So like 1:34 a.m.
What did you eventually make contact with the same suspect that was identified as the one who swiped in?
I did.
What happened when you made contact with that suspect?
So at that time, the subject that the ID card belonged to had a warrant for MDOP out of our department. I spoke with the officer Selleck who works for the Lansing Community College. And he advised me that that was the subject that I was speaking to inside of the vestibular stairway. And at that time, we advised that subject turned out to be Mr. McReynolds, that he was under arrest.
Would it be fair to say upon your initial approach, you thought you were dealing with Quaterio Ellis because of information you were provided?
Correct.
And that upon your approach, you thought this suspect had active warrants?
Correct.
Could you describe this suspect, what he was wearing, what he looked like
Today or that day?
that day?
He was wearing a dark outfit. He had black boots, but he wasn't wearing the boots at first. He put the boots on afterwards. And he had a dark cover over his legs.
Now, you said something about today or that day. Do you see that same person here in court today?
I do.
Do you recognize, or could you please identify them by an article of clothing they're wearing and point them out?
Yeah, he's sitting off to my left, and he's wearing a security shirt.
And please let the record reflect Officer Backery has identified the defendant.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Identifications noted.
Now, you provided us a name earlier, Mr. McReynolds. Do you recall what that full name is?
Yeah, it's Jamar Green McReynolds.
How do you know who Jamar Green McReynolds is?
During the course of that investigation, and a fake ID was located, but behind that fake ID was taken the actual license for that individual, which I was able to verify his identity.
Do you wear body worn cameras when you're on duty?
I do.
Were you wearing your body worn camera that night?
I was.
Was it active?
It was.
Do you know if it cut out at any point?
It did.
Can you explain that?
At the point where we were taking Mr. McReynolds into custody, due to the fact that he had made statements that he was going to fight us, I had to quickly approach him and grab onto him to avoid a fist fight. So upon doing that, kind of pressing my body against him, it appears that my camera turned off during that time. My camera has a big button on the front of it. If you just hold it down for a certain amount of time, it'll shut off. That's how it deactivates.
Do you know how long you have to hold it down for? Is it minutes, seconds?
No, I believe it's 3 seconds.
Have you reviewed your body worn camera before today?
I have.
In fact, did I show you this flash drive that was in this envelope?
You did.
Did you review the footage that was on this?
Yes.
Is the footage that's contained on this flash drive marked as People's Exhibit number 1A and 1B a fair and accurate depiction of your body worn camera?
It is.
And fair and accurate depiction of what you observed and what happened?
Yes.
Or at this time, people have moved to admit exhibits number 1A and 1B.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
People's 1A and 1B are admitted.
For the record, Your Honor, we're starting the body worn camera at January 26, 2024 at 1:44 and 21 seconds.
The body cam silence again. It's always so awkward.
What's his name? Terry, last name Ellis.
Hey man, what's going on? Hey, you just trying to stay warm?
Yeah, son, stay warm. I try to go to the show.
Alright.
So I try to go to the show. Look,
Can you pull that blanket off for me real quick? Just toss it off for me. Good. Good. So you're just trying to go to the shelter, but
I tried to go to the show, but so and having more beds in there.
alright. Well, we got a warrant for you on Wednesday. I'll have to check with this for MDLP, alright?
There's the all got no more.
Alright, we'll go check that. Right now, stand up for me. Stand up.
Can you not touch me, please?
If you stand up right now, I won't touch you, otherwise I'm about to come here. Stand
I'll
up.
let it go. I'll call you later.
Stand up, hold down. You have a warrant, you gotta go on that right now.
I ain't get it. I'll get it done until a while.
Alright,
Simply
good.
keep it.
with a picture. We have an on-board scanner, so we know so we're trying to scan it. We got all those details and I looked it up.
Stopping briefly at the 1:46:44 mark, can you explain what that subject is doing right there on this portion of the video?
So at this portion of the video, he had advised Officer Selden that he was just going to leave, and at this point in time, he was putting on his shoes.
Would it be fair to say that him on the ground right now is him taking the time to tie his shoes?
Yes.
Continuing from 146:44.
You not touch me. Don't touch me. I ain't getting nothing to nobody. I'm right there. Never want you. Don't touch me. I'm never want me. Don't touch me. I ain't getting nothing to nobody. Let me report this.
Bro, put your hands on your back, bro.
I ain't going here for my shit. Don't touch me, man. I ain't be shit to nobody.
Put your hands on your back. Saying you have a warrant. If you don't, you'll come right back out of handcuffs.
Steady, come off just as fast, man.
I got just 4 people, four cops harassing. Harassing me. I ain't get shit to nobody.
Under arrest.
I'm not under arrest with nobody. Leave me alone.
For the record, Your Honor, that clip played until the 147:42 mark. So a couple questions for you before we play the next portion. Prior to you, well, let me ask, did you get physical with the suspect? Did you put hands on him?
Yes, I did.
Why'd you do that?
At that time, we believed that he had the warrant that was expressed to us by the caller or the LCC officer. On top of that, he had refused our mans to stand up, so placed his hands on his back. He advised that he was not under arrest. He advised that he was going to fight us and puts his hands up in a fighting position. So at that time, once he turned his attention away from us, in order to take him into custody while avoiding having to go toe for toe and pound for pound as far as the fist fight goes, I used that opportunity while his attention was off of us to quickly grab onto him so that he didn't have the opportunity to swing at us.
What, if anything, did he grab before he turned around?
He grabbed onto the railing that separates the staircase from the pretty much the drop off all the way down to the floor.
What, if anything else, did he have near his possession at that time?
So at that time, he had just picked up a big, bulky black coat. Neither him nor the coat had been searched at this time.
Would it be fair to say that coat was of a concern
Yes.
on top of his actions?
Yes.
Playing, so that was People's Exhibit number 1A, Your Honor, in its entirety, the first portion from Officer Backery's body worn camera. And now we're playing portions of People's Exhibit number 1B, the second portion of his body worn camera. For the record, Your Honor, this picks back up at the 148:05 mark, same date. Officer Backery, before we play, can you tell us, so the last one cut off at 147:42, this picks up at 148:05. Can you tell us approximately how long your body worn camera was off?
It appears that it was off for approximately a minute.
147:42
Okay, sorry.
until 148:05. What's that, Matt?
So about 3 minutes.
So 147, would it be fair to say that that's a few seconds?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the time?
Stopped at 147:42.
Okay.
Starts again at 148:05.
Yes.
How many seconds is it?
So 147, so about 30 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry, officer. I love you, but that was just bad. The math wasn't mathing. I'm sure it was nerves from being on the stand, and that's a lot of numbers in one sequence. And oh, you got close on the final guess.
Got any weapons on you, man?
Not with my lawyer.
Okay. We made this much more extra than it had to be, bro.
I want my lawyer. I ain't got nothing to talk to y'all. 50 minutes.
You don't have to talk, just make sure you listen.
Yeah, well, stay away from me. And don't be hitting me.
As long as you
I'm
listen.
gonna let my lawyer, Steve Howard, know that y'all was hitting me. That's y'all go. Harass me, hit me. I ain't get shit to none of y'all.
As long as you listen, you don't have to worry about that, bro. I promise you that.
Job being nice, man. I'm just telling you what was going
Bro,
on.
you hit me one more time. Try it again. Hit me one more time.
You go with your search?
Yeah, I'm not George Floyd. I'm suing all y'all.
You go with your search, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what's gonna happen. I need you to roll over to your butt and then we're gonna stand you up, okay? Thank you. I'll help you out. Thank you. Appreciate you. What all do you need from over here?
I need to make a phone call to my lawyer.
That's fine. But what all do you need over here from right now?
All my property.
Okay, we'll grab that.
We'll gather that in a minute.
Come on.
Stopping at the 1:49:45 mark. So prior to that, we started your camera, your hand was on it, and there wasn't any audio. Can you describe what that was?
So that would be the 30-second delay of that where it records before I activate it. 30-second load up of before I actually activate it, and that doesn't include audio.
We've heard a couple times now something about him, the defendant claiming he was hit. Did you hit the defendant?
I did.
Why?
So upon getting him away from the railing, I made the decision to escort him towards the ground. Upon escorting him towards the ground, and the reason I escorted him towards the ground is it's easier to control the subject when they're moving and trying to move away from us, because the flat surface of the ground gives us leverage to hold them up against us while we try to get an arm behind the back. In this case, when Mr. McReynolds went to the ground, he placed both of his hands under his chest. Subject will typically do this in an effort to stop us from being, or make it harder for us to place their hands behind their back. At this moment in time, once he landed on his chest and his hands under his chest, I had not searched him. I had not searched him. I had not. I had no idea what weapons of any kind were on him. He had also made threats to fight us and his behavior. So I used the strike to his face as a distracting measure in hopes that he would raise his hand up away from his chest so that we could grab onto it. And that's exactly what happened.
Is this something that's consistent with your training and experience?
Correct.
How many times did you hit him?
Once.
Closed fist, open fist?
Close fist.
Where?
On the right side of his face.
Sit on the right side of what?
On the right side of his face.
What happened after he was hit? Did he comply?
He raised his right hand away to block his face, like wanted him to do. That allowed us to grab onto his right hand, place his right hand behind his back. I then gave him loud verbal commands to continue putting his hands behind his back, and he willingly placed his left hand behind his back.
So aside from handcuffing him and escorting him out, did any other officer get physical with him as far as you know?
Not at that time.
On the way out, we heard you ask if he needed anything from inside the stairwell. What was his response?
That he wanted his lawyer.
Did he say anything about whether or not that was his property in that stairwell?
Yes. After I said that was fine, I'm asking in regards to the stuff that's out there. He said that he wanted all this stuff.
So let's backtrack a little now to the identification of this suspect. You were given some information by LCC that you already stated ended up being bad information.
Yeah.
How did you confirm that?
So as part of our procedure, once I got Mr. McReynolds to the car, I then went to our lean system to both run the subject, and at that time we send those warrants up to, when we have warrants, we send our warrants up to our third court, our jail. So that's our opportunity to do that. Once I did that, I was able to see the ops photo for the subject that belonged to the name that they gave me, and I recognized that was not the subject that I had in my backseat.
Fair to say Quaterio Ellis was not your subject.
Yes.
What did you do to confirm the identity of the suspect you had in your backseat?
So I walked back into the stairwell where The LCC officer was standing, as well as other officers gathering Mr. McReynolds' property. And I learned that, I advised them that that was not the subject, that was not who Terry Ellis. And then I learned that they had located a fake ID in his belongings.
Was it just a fake ID or something more?
So it was, it looked like a Michigan ID, was a fake ID, but it was taped to what appeared to be a real ID, at the back of the ID.
Who found out that it was taped to the back of that ID?
I did.
Who was the name on that ID, the real one that was taped to the back?
The real one or the fake?
Both.
Okay, so the fake ID read Jamar Green with a date of birth of 12/15/96. The real ID said Jamar Green McReynolds with a date of birth of 12/15/79.
12/15 what?
79.
Was your body worn camera active when this happened?
Yes.
Starting again from the 1:56:00 mark on People's Exhibit number 1B.
You have an ID? That ain't who he is.
So he's got it looks like a fake ID, but that Jamar Green is on his debit card. I don't know if it's just a fake debit card.
There is a real ID behind this one.
He's got a student ID.
That ain't it.
Jamar Green, 12/15/96.
It's probably him. This looks like him. Kind of.
Well, 1595. He's giving all kinds of names.
All right. Well, he's I'll go look him up. Pretty sure this is his ID right here.
Stopping at the 1:57:24 mark, could you describe what just happened on that?
Yes, so upon being handed the fake ID, I recognized that there was possibly a real ID behind it. So I'm cutting open the plastic tape that was attaching the fake ID to the real ID. As that's happening, Officer Havard picks up the ID, the LCC student ID card for Quintero Ellis that was in Mr. Reynolds' possessions in there. And we agree that that's not him. And I pretty much just opened the license, and at this time I have to clean it off some sticker residue from, I can't necessarily see it, so I'm taking that time to try to get to the actual information on it.
Now, I stopped at the 1:57:24 mark because we can see a photograph on that ID you were looking at. Who's in that photo?
That is the fake side, but that is Mr. McReynolds.
So that's the side that just says Jamar Green,
Yes,
and the other side says Jamar Green McReynolds.
yes, with a different date of birth.
Date of birth just 1 year apart.
So the date of birth on the fake ID is 12/15/96. The date of birth on the real ID is 12/15/79.
Did you then conduct a check and lean for this Jamar Green or Jamar Green McReynolds person with those dates of birth?
Yes,
Was your body worn camera active when that happened?
yes.
Skipping to the 2:02:50 mark on People's Exhibit number 1B.
Tag it in upstairs,
Okay.
just so all you gotta worry about is him. Is there anything else y'all need?
Nope.
See you copying and pasting something on your computer there. What are you doing?
I am putting this in individuals or Mr. McReynolds' information in the actual dispatch call.
How similar, if at all, is that photograph we see on the screen on your computer to the one that was on that fake ID?
It was the same.
What did you do with this information after you copy and pasted it?
That's just placed in the call. I didn't check for warrant.
Did this suspect, Jamar Green McReynolds, have any warrants?
Yes, he did.
Where?
He had one warrant out of Mason, Michigan, and another warrant out of Grand Rapids.
He ultimately arrested subject to those warrants.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you think I've missed that the court should know about?
Just that with him being on the property, we would have. It's part of our normal procedure when there's someone who's trespassing on property to identify them and place that information in the call because that is our opportunity to say that this person has been trespassed on this date and time in case other officers respond out there and deal with the same subject.
In your training and experience, when you asked this subject to exit, was that a lawful command?
To exit the
Stairwell.
yes.
Did he resist or oppose your lawful command?
In the
Stairwell.
in the stairwell. After everything, no, he walked out on his own. However, before that, when advising him that he was being taken into custody, he did resist exit.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I have no further questions.
Processing.
Morning. You said that you've been with Lansing Police Department for 5 years, correct?
Yeah.
And so you get a lot of calls for people being where they're not supposed to be, correct? Have you had any contact with Mr. McReynolds prior to this?
I had not.
Have you been called out to Lansing Community College prior to that for any trespassing?
I had not.
All right, and so the Lansing Community College officer, had you had any previous experience with him?
I had not.
All right, so how did you rely on the information he was providing you?
The reason why I relied on the information that he was providing me was because he was another officer of the law. I can only go off of my own expectations of how I would handle the situation, and I know that I would run a subject, and I would make sure that that is a subject that I was potentially after, or I would confirm that that was a subject that I was looking for, and I acted on good faith that he would do the same thing as another trained officer.
All right, so you know that as a Lansing Community College officer that he has similar training and experience as you?
I know that as to become an officer, we all have to go through the academy. We all have to go through certain trainings. So because of that, I as I said, acted in good faith that he confirmed the information that he would give.
All right. Your Honor, no further questions.
Be direct.
Yes, Your Honor. Briefly. Officer Bakri, although you acted in good faith based on what another officer had told you, did you still try to confirm to make sure you got it right?
I did.
What happened there?
On two separate occasions. I tried to confirm with that officer that he did in fact when we were in the stairwell, as Mr. McReynolds was putting on the shoes, I tried to confirm with that officer that he did in fact verify via a picture that this was the subject. I asked it to be heard in my body camera. And also before we left the scene and went downtown, I also checked and leaned to confirm those warrants as part of the process of sending those warrants up to our third floor.
That suspect that's now been name identified as Jamar McReynolds, is it the same person you identified in court earlier?
Yeah.
Thank you. I have no further questions. First, we'll approach with People's Exhibits number 1A and B.
Yes, and you may be excused, Officer Beckley. Actually, but before I'm not talking to you. You're free to go. Actually, if you can play your
Yes, Your Honor.
People's 1A again.
A, Your Honor, the first clip.
Yes, please.
What's his name?
Last name Ellis.
Hey man, what's going on? Hey, you just trying to stay warm?
Yes, trying to stay warm. I try to go to the shelter.
Alright.
So I try to go to the shelter.
Can you pull that blanket off for me real quick? Just toss it off for me. Good. Good. So you're just trying to go to the shelter, but
I tried to go to the shelter, but so they didn't have no beds over there.
well, we got a warrant for you on Lansing. I'll have to check with this for MDOP, alright?
There's the all got no door.
Alright, go check that. Right now, stand up for me. Stand up.
Can you not touch me, please?
If you stand up right now, I won't touch you, otherwise I'm not coming here. Stand
I'm
up.
gonna go. I'll call you later.
Stand up, hold down. You have a warrant, you gotta go in there right now.
I ain't get it. I didn't nothing to nobody.
Alright,
Confirmed it with a picture.
We have an on-the-door scanner, so we know it's him trying to scan. We got all his details and how to come up and do it. So,
Stand up, you're going for your hands behind your back for me.
You not touch me. Don't touch me. I ain't get nothing to nobody. Don't touch me. I'm not. Don't touch me. I ain't get nothing to nobody. Let me report this.
Bro, put your hands on your back, bro.
I
They
ain't
come up
going
to-
to hear my
they
shit.
come up
Don't
to-
touch me, man. I ain't get shit to nobody.
Put your hands on your back. Saying you have a warrant. If you don't, you'll come right back out of handcuffs.
Stand easy, come off just as fast, man.
I got these 4 people, four cops harassing me. I ain't get shit to nobody.
Under arrest.
I'm not under arrest for nobody. Speak your law.
Okay, any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, at this time, people rest.
Is the defense calling witnesses today?
No, Your Honor.
Permission to approach the exhibit, Your Honor.
Yeah, I don't know that I need it. I don't need to reply them anymore, but you
I'll
can
keep it
proceed,
right here.
you can proceed to your closing argument.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. As Your Honor is well aware, we are here for a bench trial on one count of attempting, resisting, and obstructing or assault, resisting, or obstructing a police officer. Your Honor, the criminal jury instruction for resisting, obstructing is 13.1. To prove this, I have to meet 3 elements. First, that the defendant either assaulted, battered, wounded, resisted, obstructed, opposed, or endangered an officer with the way it's charged. It doesn't even specifically name which officer, Your Honor, because there were multiple there. In terms of that testimony, we have the videos, we have the testimony itself. Squaring up with an officer, putting your fists in a fighting stance after already disobeying several commands to stand up and leave the premises certainly meets element number 1. And then he continued to resist and fight, as Officer Backery described, on the ground by putting his hands underneath his chest, requiring force to be used so that they could free a hand and handcuff him, and this all to go. As I think Your Honor saw in the body cams show very clearly, as soon as he was handcuffed, this was all over. Prior to being handcuffed, all they asked was for him to leave, to be escorted out, and to cooperate. Several times in the body camera footage, he was told, the handcuffs come off as easily as they come on. We are going to check to see if you actually have a warrant, and if not, we can release. Second element is that the defendant knew or had reason to know that the officers were performing lawful duties. They were all fully marked in full uniform, as we see on the camera. No one would have any reason to think that these were anything other than officers performing lawful duties who had been called after the defendant had already interacted with the Lansing community officer. The officers then gave a lawful command several times, let him tie his shoes, let him stand up, didn't even approach him or get physical with him after he raised his fist up and clenched them, Your Honor. There's several times that they could have detained him physically, and they gave him several chances and opportunities to avoid that. Regarding attempt, Your Honor, that's criminal jury instruction 9.1. All I have to prove is that the defendant intended to commit RNO and that he took some act towards committing, resisting, and obstructing. Your Honor, I don't even have to prove with the way it's charged that he actually did it, although I think the body camera footage shows both that he attempted to and did complete resisting and obstructing. Where this case really comes down to, and the argument that I anticipate to be made, is identification and whether or not there was a lawful command given based on the information that they were provided. Your Honor, the Officer Backery specifically made very clear that he was acting in good faith on the information provided from another community officer, the Lansing Community College police officer, Officer Selleck. Not only that, Your Honor, Officer Backery made clear that at 1:30 a.m. this was a time that students would not be on campus and no one would be permitted to be just sleeping in the stairwell, even if they didn't have the tip itself, even if that tip wasn't reliable, that they did act in good faith upon. Upon arrival at a closed community college at 1:30 a.m. with an unknown suspect sleeping in the stairwell, sprawled out with sleeping bags, pillows, coats, everything like that. While I can empathize that the shelter was closed, it appears to me, Your Honor, and I think the body cam fleshed out, all officers were trying to do was to get him to move. They weren't trying to ring him up. They weren't trying to, at least I think the body cam shows, they made clear they just wanted him to move on. This whole situation could have been avoided, and the reason that it wasn't is because of the defendant's actions and his resisting and obstructing. They thought they were acting on a good faith basis on a valid active warrant for a quaterio illicit. They quickly confirmed that that was not the case, removed a ID that had two IDs in it taped together from the wallet that the defendant on camera said were his possessions. On the front side was a fake ID for Jamar Green with a different date of birth. On the backside, Jamar Green McReynolds. Your Honor, both officers have identified this subject in court. We've proven the date of January 26, 2024. We've proven the location and venue of 600 North Grand River Avenue, Ingham County, Michigan. Identity was clearly confirmed immediately after this, and then the defendant was arrested based on those valid facts.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. As the prosecutor has stated, the elements of the offense mean that he has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that those officers were acting in unlawful duties, giving a lawful order, and that Mr. McReynolds either he attempted to resist that that order. Yes, it is accurate that our defense's argument is that it has to be lawful at the time of the arrest. Officers in this case believe that they were acting under information that proved to be false. Now, prosecution argues that there is a good faith exception to this. Defense would argue that the good faith exception does not apply should not apply in these circumstances. The facts of being that officers were called in because they believed that there was a person with a warrant. They didn't make any efforts to confirm this themselves. They relied on the officers' information that a student would be using their ID to sleep in the stairwell in the middle of the night. I don't believe that would be what a reasonable officer would assume, that there was, based on the information they received, that some student would be using their ID to sleep in the stairwell at 144, should have raised alarm bells that maybe someone that it wasn't the student that they were dealing with. But at the same time, I think the law is clear that it has to be lawful at the time of the arrest. You can't make up a reason after the fact to make it lawful. And they did not have what they needed at the time they arrested him. They were arresting him based on someone else's warrant and it wasn't his, and that makes it unlawful. And therefore, because it was an unlawful arrest, he can resist that or attempt to resist that, Your Honor. So
Yeah, I just have a question.
go ahead, Your Honor.
The jury instruction 13.1 is not specific to just resisting an arrest, but resisting the officer in their lawful duties. And so, if we have an officer, fully marked uniform, or officers in fully marked uniforms who appear to the scene and they give an order, why would that not be in good faith? I understand your argument about the actual reason why they thought they were arresting, but when the video was replayed, I replayed that just to make sure I caught the time frames accurately. And I think the first order would have been stand up. Why would that not have been a lawful order for the officer?
Because at the time that they were ordering him, they were under the impression that he had a warrant, and that was they believed they had a person who had a warrant, but they didn't have that. They were arresting someone based on false information, and there is the good faith exception. If they reasonably relied on that, our argument today is that they unreasonably relied on that. And with that, Your Honor, we have no further
argument.
Yes, sir. I'll just reiterate, Your Honor, I think you can take the entire tip from the LCC officer out of this and they still have reasonable suspicion and probable cause. They have an unknown subject who used someone else's ID to swipe in at a time that he wasn't supposed to be sleeping in the stairwell. I'm not sure if anyone is ever supposed to be sleeping in the stairwell at the LCC garage. So simply telling him to stand up and move on was a lawful command at the time they gave.
Okay, so today was the date that was scheduled for a bench trial. We have one count of attempted resisting obstructing officer, and as indicated by the prosecution, the jury instruction that prevails on this matter would be 13.1, assault, resist, obstructing a police officer or a person performing their duties. And then also attempt, which is under jury instruction 9.1.
He's lucky that they're charging it as an attempt, because with the way he balled up his fist like that and with the way he put his fists and wrists underneath his body when they took him down to the ground before they had a chance to search him, so they had no idea if he had a pew or a right in his belt or anything like that. They didn't know what they were dealing with, and he wouldn't listen to any orders. He took his time putting his boots on. He did everything to resist and obstruct, and he is really lucky that they're only charging him with an attempt, because he could have gotten a much stronger charge.
We had testimony today from Officer Derek Selden, relatively new officer, testified at the time of January 26, 2024. He had only been a sworn officer for about 2 weeks, that he reported to the scene located at 600 North Grand Avenue, which is the Lansing Community College parking lot ramp, in response to a dispatch for an unwanted subject. Venue in this court would be appropriate based on that location. We also had testimony from Officer Jamil Bakri, who also testified that he reported to the same address at the date and time of January 26, 2024 at 1:34 a.m. Again, 600 North Grand Avenue, City of Lansing, Ingham County, again to assist in response to the dispatch for unwanted subject. I'm not going to rehash the testimony because we've had that already, both by you, Mr. Markarian, as well as you, Mrs. Donnelly. But we'll talk about the jury instructions for the purposes of the defendant understanding what elements the people would have needed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. In order to prove assault resisted obstructing a police officer performing their duties, they would first need to prove that you, Mr. McReynolds, either assaulted, in this case, attempted to assault, batter, wound, resist, obstruct, oppose, or endanger. In this particular case, we could say either Officer Selden or Officer Backery, because they were the ones that provided testimony evidence, who were officers and from the Lansing Police Department. The jury instruction defines obstruct to include the use or threatened use of physical interference or force, or a knowing failure to comply with a lawful command. The defendant must have actually resisted by what he said or did, but physical violence is not necessary. Again, this is being charged as an attempt. And so we would only need to have beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant intended to commit the act of a resisted, obstruct, oppose an officer, and that he took some actions toward committing that alleged crime. The testimony that we have, as well as the video evidence that was demonstrated as it relates to the first element, there were officers that responded to this scene, again, for unwanted subject. Trespassing is the concern. The defense's argument is that it would be unreasonable for the Lansing police officers to operate in good faith under the information provided from the Lansing Police Department that there was a student sleeping in the hallway. I don't know if I agree with that. People could be, I think the term that people are using now is unhoused. They could be homeless or unhoused for a number of reasons. And a lot of times students could be displaced. It's not unreasonable for a Lansing police officer to check a scan, which is what my understanding of the evidence was, and see that the card that was last scanned in being this alleged student, and assume that the person that's still in there would be that student. Does the court believe that a greater investigation of that information should have taken place? Absolutely. But do I think that the officers operated in bad faith? I do not. I think it's reasonable to see that that was the last scan. I think that officer from LCT thought he was doing a good investigation by pulling that information. Also by seeing that that person also has a warrant. And that's likely the individual that's in the hallway. I don't know if the LCC officer had any further communication or interaction with the subject in the hallway. But when the officers, and then again, we have a relatively newer officer responding, and then we have Officer Backery. It's been a sworn officer for about 5 years, but that still would make him new to me. He responds, and I found them both to be rather patient, that they had a conversation with the defendant, the person identified in this court as the defendant, Mr. Jamar McReynolds, and Mr. Reynolds explaining how it was that he came about, or why I should say, he was in the hallway trying to stay warm. And the first officer command that I heard or recall what came from Officer Derek Selden, and he said he ordered him to stand up. What I noticed from the People's Exhibit 1A was that the defendant did not immediately comply. He took his time. Officers were patient. It was reasonable for me that he took his time and that he was patient, that they were patient, because he's putting on his shoes. They tell him that he has a warrant. He immediately states, "No, I don't have a warrant." Officers are believing he's someone else, but he does in fact have warrants. He's saying, "No, I don't have a warrant," which is obviously not true, but his responsibility was to stand up because that was the lawful order. He gets his boots on, he stands up. Officers, he goes back and forth with the officers verbally about whether or not he has a warrant. Officers tell him, turn around and place his hands behind his back. the defendant is seen on the screen, immediately raising his hands, even clenching his fists as if he was in a fighting stance. He took an immediate aggressive posture with the officers. And even if the officers didn't respond under the belief that there was a warrant, he's trespassing. He has no lawful right to be in the stairwell. The officers have the discretion to arrest him just on the trespassing. They don't typically do that. They, as they said, typically would put the information in the system. He could or could not be given a citation to report to court later for trespassing. Either way, they did have that discretion. In this particular case, they're operating under, I believe, a reasonable belief that there's a warrant. They gave him a lawful order, and he took a stance and even gave statements that he would fight them if they tried to touch him. He proceeds to pull out a phone. And officers are patiently waiting while he pulls out a phone and starts recording. And then as he's recording and he picks up a heavy winter jacket, I think it's reasonable for officers to take some concern at this point because they had already given him at least 2 lawful commands at this point, and they had enough information and probable cause at this time to make an arrest. But Mr. McReynolds is not being compliant. So the court is satisfied based on the testimony and the video evidence that the people have proven each element beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. McReynolds did make an attempt to assault, resist, or obstruct or oppose the officer in their lawful duties. I don't have a reason why we wouldn't be able to proceed to immediate sentencing unless there was an objection to that.
No, Your Honor, we're fine with that.
No objection.
Okay, you can make allocution.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Reynolds, obviously he still suffers from an issue with being unhoused, right? You're staying at the shelter, you said you're staying at the BOA right now, Wood Cross? Okay, so he does have room at the shelter at this point. He does do like side jobs, that sort of thing, but not have any steady income right now. He does go, are you going to church or you just studying just go to the Islamic Center, so he has those community connections. Your Honor, I would just ask that minimal fines and costs if possible. Thank you.
Okay, so you're not employed?
I'm a security, part-time security officer. I recently picked up a part-time job back at fried chicken.
So you're a part-time security officer where?
American Guard.
Excuse me?
American Guard.
Where is that located?
It's located here with companies out of state of California.
Okay, where are you stationed, I should say?
I'm stationed here at Lake Switch.
No, is there a building or location that you're stationed in?
There is no building. We just have this meet at Kroger.
You meet at Kroger? And then where do you work? Then what do you secure?
The building.
The Kroger building?
The entrance to the building.
And how many hours a week are you working there?
So I get roughly 20 to 30 hours.
20 to 30 hours, and then you just picked up another part-time job? Is that a yes, sir?
Yes.
That's at Kentucky Fried Chicken? You said? Which one?
I want to see. I'm asking for this case to be dropped.
I just sustained a guilty against you based on the testimony. The case is not going to be dismissed. Okay. You're going to be placed on a term of 6 months probation. While on probation, you need to provide evidence of employment. You have to be at the address of 600 North Grand. I'm not going to order that you do any drops at this time.
Your Honor, that is reporting probation.
It will be non-reporting at this time. He just needs to provide evidence of his employment. He claims he's employed now, so I expect that within the next 14 days, they can provide evidence.
Do you want him to provide it to me or to the probation department?
He can provide it to you and you can get it to probation.
Okay. Because I didn't move non-reporting, he's not going downstairs to report to probation right now, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have any questions about your requirements? Any additional matters for the record?
Nothing further from the people.
One question, Your Honor. So he's reporting, you said something about 2 weeks?
He needs to get that proof of employment and to probation. He can get it to you and you can get to probation within the next 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And then he's gonna be on non-reporting probation for 6 months after that, basically no trouble and he'll be gone off.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Your Honor. Nope, no further questions.
Any additional matters for the record?
Nothing further from the people. Thank you.
The one part that I really thought was funny was when the defendant asked the judge if she would just dismiss the charges. And she's like, no, the guilty still stands. Kind of like you're gonna be held accountable, but she didn't try running him through the ringer. She really tried, 6 months non-reporting probation. It's a slap on the wrist. It's a nothing. All he has to do is not get in trouble for 6 months and he's done with everything. If he balls up his fists at officers again, he's in trouble.
All right, we're ready to go with our 10:30 sentence. People versus Edwin Otto Smith. File number here is 24261ST. Mr. Smith was charged with failing to stop at the scene of a personal injury accident and driving suspended. I believe the matter was on the jury docket. Anyway, it was resolved with a plea.
Your Honor, I don't think you're out recording the red light.
Oh, you're right. Thank you, DJ. Michelle's not here to look out for me. You're supposed to tell me my red light's not on. She'd be like, I'll start again. This is file number 24261ST, People versus Edwin Otto Smith. Mr. Smith was charged with an incident that occurred on January 17th of 2024 in the city of Three Rivers, leaving the scene of a personal injury accident and driving suspended. The matter was on the jury docket. We had a pretrial. There were a number of other issues. The defendant pled to failing to stop at the scene of a personal injury accident. The matter was set for set for sentencing this morning. Mr. James Mecchio was here on behalf of the prosecution at that time. He's not here today. I'm not sure why not. He's being paid handsomely for contract with the prosecutor's office, but he isn't here. No one else is here except the victim witness staff, bless their hearts. Mr. Luke Knopfinger is here with his client, and the complaining witness, Kimberly Van, is also present. She's represented in a separate matter by attorney Timothy Reed, who is also present. This, right from the start, was a difficult case. And it was resolved with this plea. Good morning, Mr. Knopfinger.
Morning.
What would you like me to know?
Just a couple of things. I have a couple of things to say, and they may appear to be disjointed, Judge. And I speak from my perspective too. And my client wants to address the court. We were aware right from the jump that there was a civil case. The facts, not just alleged, but admitted to at the last hearing occurred in mid-January. Case sort of just picked up as most cases do. Right from the jump, we knew there was a civil case in the background. And so my advice to my client is, well, with the civil case, there can be potential civil liability. We then became aware that that was resolved. So we took the plea agreement as it was. Client made an admission to that. A couple things, Judge, that I would ask the court to consider, and I would inquire whether or not the court received the medical records.
I did. I'm not a doctor or a nurse, but I did review them this morning when I first saw them.
Okay. Well, they were, I sort of licked my lips and sort of it, in terms of litigating what was or what wasn't. I'm no doctor either, but I have to say it was sort of one of those issues where sort of want to litigate those medical records. But I will say that what injury was or wasn't sustained, I don't think is as important as maybe I thought it was. Sometimes I just want to litigate issues. I'll be honest. It's clear to me that Miss Van suffered some pretty significant injuries, and having spoken to her attorney, it's turned her life upside down. She lost her job, and I think it's changed her life. With that too, it also has affected Mr. Smith. He didn't want this to happen. He made several terrible mistakes that night. And so he didn't want this to happen either. He did enter a guilty plea. He did not enter a no contest plea. And I think that's something I'd ask the court to consider. I do want to ask the court to consider how it has affected my client, and I don't want to discount how it has affected Miss Van either. Happy there was a settlement, happy that was resolved, and I'm happy that this case has come to resolution too. So I'd ask the court to consider all of that, and then my client does wish to address the court. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Smith, what would you like to tell me?
I'd just like to apologize to Miss Van for the whole deal. Truly sorry it
Just a
never
minute,
happened.
just a minute. I heard a big fuck you. So if you would like to either stay back here or go outside, I can accommodate that. I expect you to be respectful in here. And if I hear it again, you're going to be found in contempt and you're going to go into custody. Do you understand? Do you understand? All right. We're not sitting around the kitchen table. We're at a court proceeding. And I know you were struck by a car and you have very strong feelings about it. But I don't want you disrespecting me. I'm in here trying to do the best job I can. Go ahead.
I would just like to apologize for all of it. Truly never meant for it to happen. Sorry for any grief I've caused her family or her.
Miss Van, if you think you can keep it together, do you want to speak to me? Please come forward. You can have a seat right here. You might be more comfortable.
Sorry for cussing, but I do not believe that his apology.
Say that again.
I don't believe in his apology.
Well, I guess you don't have to, but he did state it. We got a Led Zeppelin fan and a police fan here, rock and roll morning. What would you like me to know?
I have a statement, but I'm also requesting things. I'm not saying that they can be possible, but I'm also requesting some things to be done.
All right, well, let me hear your statement and what you want me to know.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Van. I was a pedestrian versus car. I sustained 2 fractured bones below the right knee, a ripped soleus muscle. My C5, C6 disc was collapsed and had to be fused. And I had a herniated disc in my lower back and the never-ending fear of getting hit. So when Edwin stated that I walked into his car, it was far from the truth. Edwin has trouble telling the truth. I believe from his past record and his present record, he refuses to obey the law. He still continues to drink alcohol and drive on a suspended license. He cares about no one but himself. He hit me with his car and left me. He talked his girlfriend into following a false police report so he wouldn't go to jail. I am asking the court to hold him at the max jail time that is possible for this. I'm also asking for probation time and alcohol monitoring if allowed. I also believe this shouldn't be offered work release. He should go to jail and lose everything like I have, my job and all.
Well, I'll let you finish and then I've got some questions.
When Edwin hit me, I was a sole income from my home. I have 4 children and a disabled husband. I have now been fired from American Axle because I was unable to return to work after surgery. I have lost my medical insurance and this is still affecting me to this day. I still have pain in my knees and my legs and my neck. Please do not be lenient when you go to sentence him today.
Now, the first I was aware that you had lost your job was when Mr. Knopfsinger said it. I was not aware that you'd lost your job at American Axle. Tell me about that.
So they wanted me to return to work back July 25th. And I was unable to return to work because I had to have my neck fused. So I was fired August 17th.
All right, I wasn't aware of that. Now, I'm no doctor. All right, well, what else did you want included?
What do you mean?
You said there were some other things you would request that.
I'm requesting that if there is possible for probation time after jail, I'm requesting that. I'm requesting alcohol monitoring if it's allowed. I'm requesting that he doesn't have work release. He shouldn't have these extra things that I wasn't allowed to have.
I can't do both. I can't give him the maximum jail sentence and probation. There's nothing else I can do to him after that.
I'm so confused because I talked to the prosecutor and yet today we don't have a prosecutor to stand here with me with what he has said at the last trial.
Well,
because he's the one that brought up that he could possibly get probation after jail time and we could possibly ask for alcohol monitoring because this is how this situation became.
I really think that she should have asked for an adjournment because the prosecutor was not present.
Diabetic, he doesn't drink. Stop. You'll be in the same boat. All right. Let's back up. This was authorized by Chief Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Joshua Robert. He charged it as leaving the scene of a personal injury accident and driving suspended. I have a long-standing frustration in personal injury accident cases where I don't know if they have all the information they need at the time of the charging. It is a felony to leave the scene of a serious personal injury accident when you have a suspended driver's license, punishable by up to 5 years imprisonment. So he wasn't charged with that, but he doesn't have a suspended driver's license.
It was revoked. He's got a revoked
He
suspended driver's
has
license.
no license.
It was taken away because of 2 DUIs and hitting a structure before me.
Well, you're aware of that. I'm aware of it because I was here in 1997 and 1999. He had 2 drunk drivings and another charge, fleeing and eluding. But they were almost 30 years ago. So his driving record doesn't even show it. His driving record shows he has no license. It does not show that he's suspended or revoked. And so it was charged as that, but I looked carefully at his driver's license. There's actually nothing on it. That stuff is so old, it doesn't show up on his driver's license. So what the SOS shows is he has no license, which is different than suspended or revoked. All right, there's also an offense for leaving the scene of a serious personal injury accident, which is also a 5-year felony. And I guess no one bothered to find out what the extent of your injuries were. I've had 6, 7 cases like this. And I don't know where the blame lies. I think sometimes the prosecutors don't know what they don't know. I don't have what he had back on February 7th or whenever this was authorized. But I believe what you have is a serious injury. So I want to
Metal
shout
plates
this.
in my neck for the rest of my life.
Yeah, well, it certainly qualifies. Driving suspended with a personal injury accident, serious personal injury accident, is a felony. We got thousands of people driving around with a suspended driver's license. He arguably, his defense is it wasn't suspended, it was just non-existent. But
Either way, he didn't have a driver's license. He shouldn't have been behind the wheel.
I don't disagree at all. So then he left the scene. A serious personal injury is a loss of limb or loss of a foot, loss of limb or loss of use of a limb, loss of hand, foot, loss of eye, ear.
I've lost.
Stop. Substantial impairment of a bodily function. You certainly have that.
I've lost motion in my neck because my neck had to be fused.
Yes, so this certainly qualifies as a serious person.
She ran into the building.
Stop. So this qualifies under what standard we use. You have enough medical evidence to establish substantial impairment of a bodily function. But do you believe he ran over you on purpose?
I believe he ran over me on purpose because he was drinking.
There's absolutely no evidence.
He
of that.
tested positive for alcohol still 3.5 hours after the accident when he blew in a breathalyzer test.
I'm not aware of that. Can you?
You can call
Stop.
Officer Fuller done a breathalyzer test when they finally decided to quit hiding from the sheriffs.
All right. What do you know about that? I was not aware of any blood alcohol.
Nothing that isn't beyond the.
He blew a 0.03 is what he blew 3.5 hours later after hitting me.
How do you know that?
Officer Fuller?
And if that's true, that's probably why he ran. Because leaving the scene of an accident, especially one with bodily injury, is less of a charge than driving under the influence. But all in all, he's a terrible person. But she's also pretty terrible.
He was the investigating officer on the case. He said he couldn't prove that he was drinking and driving because he wasn't able to see him at the scene of the accident, but he was still testing positive for alcohol. He admitted in the.
All right, well, so let me back up a little bit. So you believe he hit you on purpose?
Because he was drinking, yes.
So he said, "Oh, I think I'll run over this lady."
I don't think he sat there and said, "Hey, I'm mad at Kim, let's run her over." But I believe he intentionally hit me because he decided to drink that day.
All right, that is a legal distinction. I don't believe he hit you on purpose. I believe this is an accident.
And I wasn't drinking that day.
All right, well, there's no evidence other than what she said, and that's
Well,
rank hearsay.
it's in the police record.
It's not in the one I have. I'm looking at the booking sheet, but I don't think he got booked that day. And certainly the prosecutor would have access to it. At a disadvantage because I don't have any input from the prosecutor. Either the one that authorized it or the one that took the plea or the one that was elected to the office. But anyway, I do not believe he intentionally ran over you in the parking lot. I believe he knew he wasn't supposed to be driving because he hasn't had a license for 30 years. And he panicked and he took off. And then there was a bunch of rigmarole before they finally caught up with him. If he was drinking, there certainly isn't enough evidence to charge any drinking driving. So he did not intentionally hit you. This falls under the category of a moving violation causing death. It's the same kind of case. Fortunately, you didn't die. You're here and you have debilitating injuries. And there was a civil case, which there often is. And there was some sort of settlement. I don't need to know what it was. But there's criminal liability and civil liability. The civil case was settled. I don't know if American Axle.
So I'd ask the court to consider all of that. And then my client does wish to address the court. Thank you.
All right.
I think I bumped something, you guys. Hold on. I'm so sorry. What on earth? Oh, my editing skills are on full display here.
Ms. Van, if you think you can keep it together, do you want to speak?
Important is maybe.
He's not here today. I'm not sure why not. He's being paid handsomely. And it was resolved with this plea.
I am so embarrassed. You know what I'm going to do? Because this is terrible. I'm going to go straight to the live stream of it. Oh my gosh, I cannot. What did I do? Okay. I am so sorry, you guys. I am baffled by this. I screwed up. I screwed up bigly. I'm so sorry. Let me just get this going. Oh. It was going so well, too. My guess is when I was putting my watermarks in, I've got to like hold the button and scroll it all the way to the end. And I'll bet you anything when I clicked on it to scroll it off to the end, I'll bet you anything I grabbed a section of clip and shot that somewhere down the road. Okay, hold on here. Okay, it is this one here. Give me a second, let me find the place. Okay. Oh my God, I am embarrassed, you know? I mean, this is right here, buddy. Right here. Actually, ship them to Ava. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh. I really need to stop editing when I'm like asleep at the wheel here. You guys are just amazing. I am mortified right now.
I believe he hit you on purpose. I believe this is an accident.
And I wasn't drinking that day.
All right, well, there's no evidence other than what she said, and that's
Well,
rank hearsay.
it's in the police record.
It's not in the one I have. I'm looking at the booking sheet, but I don't think he got booked that day. And certainly if the prosecutor would have access to it. At a disadvantage because I don't have any input from the prosecutor. Either the one that authorized it or the one that took the plea or the one that was elected to the office. But anyway, I do not believe he intentionally ran over you in the parking lot. I believe he knew he wasn't supposed to be driving because he hasn't had a license for 30 years. And he panicked and he took off. And then there was a bunch of rigmarole before they finally caught up with him. If he was drinking, there certainly isn't enough evidence to charge any drinking driving. So he did not intentionally hit you. This falls under the category of a moving violation causing death. It's the same kind of case. Fortunately, you didn't die. You're here and you have debilitating injuries. And there was a civil case, which there often is. And there was some sort of settlement. I don't need to know what it was. But there's criminal liability and civil liability. The civil case was settled. I don't know if American Axle was a party of it or it's just your insurance and his insurance. I don't know. But I've said this multiple times. I've been on the bench now for about 22 years. And every 2 years, when new judges are elected, a partner judge and I teach new judge school. And the topic we teach is district court sentencing. I think I've done it 6 times, 7 times, so either 12 or 14 years. So every 2 years, I have a new batch of newly elected district judges, and I spend a day and we teach sentencing. Now, some of it's easy. Driving suspended, drinking, driving, shoplifting. The hardest cases a district judge does are vehicular accident and homicide cases, bar none. Now, my partner is from Farmington Hills. He's never had one. I have about 6 a year. I have a terrible case right now where a young woman was driving down US 12 and she's been charged with killing 2 people. She has no criminal record whatsoever. She's never been in trouble. She allegedly had a traffic violation, either driving too fast or crossing the center line, and she killed 2 people. I had a situation with a young boy who was a student here in Centerville, and he hit a man and killed him. They were out doing solicitations for a newspaper for FFA, going to farm supply stores and other things. No alcohol, no speeding, no nothing. He just made a mistake and hit this man and killed him. His wife sat where you are. She was Romanian. She didn't have great English, pretty good. Her husband died. She lost everything. She lost her sole provider. She lost the person that paid all the bills. She lost the person that did everything around the house. Talk about turning her life upside down, as opposed to this high school senior who crossed the center line and killed her. I could tell you about 6 or 10 more stories like that. Anyway, they're very hard. What's the answer? What do you do in a case like that? I had a young girl who was talking on the telephone, blew a red light, hit a young woman that was crossing the street. There is no exact right answer. You want him to go to jail for the maximum amount of time. You want him to lose his job. You want him to be on probation and alcohol monitoring. And none of that is going to fix your injuries. He had an accident and then he panicked and left. The prosecutor, under 2 different theories, I suppose, could have charged this as a felony. They chose not to, and they know more about it than I do. So it's not a felony, it's a misdemeanor. And the way it's charged, it is a district court misdemeanor. There is another misdemeanor, accident, traffic violation with serious personal injury. So they never explored the extent of your injury, which was serious. Now he contends you ran back into the shop, and maybe you did. And
I
then,
had help by an
all right, well,
coworker.
nonetheless, sometimes it takes a minute. Your body's full of adrenaline. You're in shock, but I don't dispute the fact that you're debilitated. I am sorry that you lost your job. It doesn't seem as straightforward as that. If your doctor said, were you cleared by your doctor to go back to work?
No, I had a work note stating that I was supposed to be off of work because I had surgery. I wasn't supposed to return to work until the 29th of this month.
Well,
That's still in litigation.
all right, does the union fighting that with the,
Nope, the union's not helping me at all.
but there is a action against
There's an action against American Axle now.
for wrongful discharge.
Correct.
Okay, so that's not completely a foreclosed issue.
No,
Okay.
this is an ongoing issue.
All right.
But I
So,
wouldn't have lost my job if I wouldn't have gotten hit by a car. And I was the sole income for my family.
I accept that, similar to the lady that lost her husband. So as far as I can tell, Mr. Smith hasn't been in trouble in about 25 years. I was prosecutor in 1997 and 1999. I became judge in 2003. And I haven't seen him once since I came to the bench. So he has a job at American Axle. He has a family. He has expenses. And he did a dumb thing that with a serious consequence. The prosecutor makes the charge. The judge makes the sentence. This charge is a misdemeanor, punishable by up to 93 days in jail.
How many?
Let me make sure I got it right. Maybe this is a 1 year. I'll make sure I got my complaint right. Yeah, 1 year and or $1,000 personal injury accident. So even if they had charged serious injury personal accident, well, if they charged serious injury personal accident, it would be a felony. If they had charged driving suspended with a serious personal injury accident, it would be a felony. Wasn't charged that way, so it's a punishable by up to a year in jail. Now, one of the reasons for the leaving the scene crime is, I've seen this, people are in an accident, they leave the scene and they leave the person there on the side of the road.
He left me. He just decided to say a comment before he left.
All right, we'll hear about that in a minute. But he left you there in a public place where there were other people around. So he didn't leave you laying in a ditch bleeding. He knew there was going to be some response. And at that point, he didn't know the extent of your injuries. He knew that, his version is you ran into his car. His version is,
So when I
your
was
version
coming
is-
off the hood of his car, I walked into it.
yeah.
You never even knocked the dust.
All right,
off my
all right, stop. All right, so you wanted to tell me something else.
Just go ahead.
Well, you were gonna say one more thing. All right, nothing I say here is gonna make you satisfied.
No,
Nothing I
don't
say
expect you
here
to
is-
make me satisfied at all.
Say that again?
I don't expect you to make me satisfied at all. A year in jail is pretty much a slap on the hand. But for him to sit in here and this is a game for him is a joke. Yeah, really.
No, ma'am.
Stop. You're not helping things at all. And neither are you. I can't make you happy and I can't make you remorseful. Other than what you said here, your version is that, I don't know, I wasn't there. Usually they'd have some video, but I don't believe there's any video of this. Would have been helpful, maybe for all concerned, if there'd been some video in the parking lot to show exactly what happened.
HR done their own investigation and he admitted to HR that I was on the hood of his car.
All right, I
Since
accept
there
it.
is a video, I should
Is there?
say, the accident is out of frame.
Yes, that's what I understood.
Yes, so that,
We didn't actually see what happened.
no.
Yes. All right, there is no right answer to this. In fact, I'm going to use this as a fact scenario at our next judicial training in January.
This would be so hard to try to balance, because he's right. You're not going to make either party happy. And I get why she's angry. But I don't understand how there's not an ounce of forgiveness in her heart. Maybe because he doesn't seem remorseful or empathetic or given a hoot of what she is going through. That makes a difference. The lady that hit me, she was stone sober. It was just an accident. And I have a permanent spine injury because of it. I lost everything.
I am going to do a 12-month probation. And he isn't going to use any alcohol or any controlled
So
substance.
he's not even going to jail for this?
Stop.
I'm just asking a
I'm
question.
doing the sentencing. Stop. He's not in charge of this. I am. And no matter what I say here, you're not going to be satisfied with it. So I might as
No,
well.
I'd like him to go to jail.
Yes, I certainly understand that. In fact, you're so angry that you undermine your effectiveness because nothing that would be done here would satisfy you. So you're so angry. You've been angry at everybody. You've been angry at the prosecutors. You've been angry at me. You've
I'm
been
not
angry at the victim
prosecutor.
advocate
He's not
people.
here.
Well, I'm not very happy about that either, but I saw some exchanges between you and the prosecutor. You're so angry that you're unreasonable and it undermines your effectiveness. I'll just leave it at that. No alcohol. Test as directed by a police officer or probation officer. No drugs, including marijuana. I don't know if you use marijuana, it's eligible for recreational use, but you can't use that. No driving. You don't have a driver's license. You'll have a very difficult time getting your driver's license, particularly after this. You might as well accept the fact that you'll probably never have a driver's license. Those two old drinking driving offenses, the driver license appeal division, the Secretary of State have an even longer memory than I do. And so you would have to prove to them that you're eligible to get a license back with a restriction. So you may have been able to do that, but you throw this leaving the scene into the mix and you're just out of chances. The fine is zero. There's no need for a court fine. I'm going to order 10 days jail to be served either on weekends or work release. I'm not going to make you lose your job.
Thank you.
$75 crime victims' rights fee, $50 state minimum fee, $150 attorney fee.
Judge, I was retained.
Okay, I think you told me that. Thank you, Luke. And a $480 probation oversight fee. Go get her. Please come up and have a seat.
Whatever you want.
All right, you want to curse at me a little more? Is there anything else you have to say? All right, you should just go now. You're good to go.
No, this is bullshit.
All right, come here.
Look at him put his head back.
I find that you're in contempt of court and you're going to jail for 24 hours, effective right now. Yes, really. Officer, I'd please ask you to take her into the back. Don't look at Mr. Reed. You did this to yourself. You're going to jail for 24 hours for your continuing disrespect. I am sorry about everything that happened to you in the course of this accident, but I gave you a chance to just leave and then.
Can she report to us? She's a full private kid.
She can go to jail right now.
I mean,
I went out of my way to try to not do this, and you don't have to like it, but you have to be respectful, and you went out of your way to be not respectful. She can go to jail right now. 24 hours, you're found to be in contempt.
Can you get
Take
my keys?
her out of here.
All right, you ain't gonna get me. I'm going with you.
you're not following her.
I didn't know which way to
She
go.
has a fused neck. You grab her by the.
Yes.
They want civil liability. They have.
All right, I'm sorry. I want you to report down to the probation department. I took it as far as I could take it. You've got 10 days to do. You can choose to do it all at once or do it on weekends or even work release, but I think weekends would be most effective. No driving. If you complete this within 6 months, you could be discharged early. Ross, you may want to go help him. We need to get her out there where she can be properly cared for. All right, that completes the record on this matter. I'll give you this referral down to probation.
Okay, we are going to go to the next hearing now.
Boxes on here. Man. It used to be a key did all that and you had to pull it out. I think the bailiff had the referral. You go to. Okay, Jeremy has it.
In all right, we return to the record. This is a special record. In regarding, yeah. Thank you.
We need red light.
This time.
There it is.
Wow, there it goes. A special record regarding the contempt finding I just made regarding the complaining witness in the last case. Mr. Timothy Reed is here. He represents that contempt defendant in a civil matter, which we discussed in the matter of the sentencing of the last case. And that was in the sentence of Edwin Otto Smith. The defendant was quite animated. I warned her at the beginning of the proceedings for cursing in the courtroom because she didn't like what was being said. She had two other outbursts, both on the way out of the courtroom. I brought her back in and she said, okay, I'm good. I said, you should please just go. Then she gave me one more, this is bullshit, on the way out the door. So I found her in contempt and gave her 24 hours in jail. We just had a session on contempt at the district judges conference in August, very good one. I believe I'm within my parameters to find contempt in this proceeding. But Mr. Reed has indicated he's going to file a request for an emergency stay of my contempt ruling and ask for the chief judge, who would be Judge Pattison, to rule on this. And so he wants transcripts and have an opportunity for another judge to review the videos. So I'm willing to allow that. I certainly am not oblivious to the fact that you have a serious injury as a result of this, and there's been a lot of consequence to you, but you're using your victimness as a weapon. And one of the people you're wielding your weapon on was me. So you don't have to like my ruling, but you can share your opinion later outside my presence without, you can swear all you want when you get home. Can't do it to me. So anyway, I'm going to stay my contempt finding. Mr. Reed is going to
I'll file an official appearance, Your Honor, and request for hearing.
it's going to be, it needs a caption, so it'll be contempt in the matter of Edwin Otto Smith.
And utilize that ST number as the case number?
Yes.
Okay, that will be fine.
All right, so you're free to go.
I'll take you out, we'll talk, I'll explain exactly what's going on. Thank you, Your Honor. I'll have that filed in today.
All right.
I've got, do you have your keys, you said, Kim?
No, they have.
Okay, well, we'll get it out in the hallway, so I'll meet them out by the bailiff's thing. We'll go in the office and meet. Hold on 1 second, then he's gonna get the band off the back there. And then, so.
That's not it though, but you got to give me just a moment. Okay, we're going to start from here.
Sheila May.
Oh, thank you.
Main Street.
We're gonna be here in person on that.
Well, Tab scheduled employee interviews at 2. I don't know
We'll be
how much.
done.
Oh, we'll be done in half.
So I was gonna tell, that's what came back in here is we're at 1:30. I talked to Ms. May, we've been in contact. She's gonna be here today in person at 1:30. We may have a resolution that is going to fix all of these issues. And so, but I wanted you to be aware that we'll be here today.
All right, good.
So,
I had a guy this morning, this is off topic, but I know you're in. He had what appeared to me to be a valid international driver's license.
okay.
So let's just say he had a valid international driver's license. He made the mistake of speeding through Mendon. So he got a ticket, 40 and a 35, and a no ops ever acquired.
Where's he from?
Guatemala. And I got Andy on there, and Andy agreed to dismiss the driving suspended for a plea to the no ops for a plea to speeding. But I think that the international driver's license is valid.
So I gotta remember, because I forgive me, I don't have it right. Is there's no such thing as an international driver's license. If you have to have a valid.
It institutionalizes Guatemalan license.
Correct. You have to have a valid license from another jurisdiction that's subject to the treaty or whatever.
And which it is.
You know, the treaty.
So I said, I'm not telling you, you're not going to get this ticket again.
Right.
Keep this with you and plead not guilty. But I've only seen one before, that guy from India.
And it came in like
it looks like a passport.
And they have like paper,
and it's got, if it's a fake, it's a very good one. It had the holographic stuff. It's your friend, Mr. Reedstra. So I think he's trying to get documented people and get, he's probably driving for it.
Well, I mean, my guess is his insurance requires some type of documentation if they're driving any of his vehicles.
So I think that it was valid. I guess if he gets another one, anyway, Andy agreed to dismiss.
Well, through your district court stuff, if you could find somebody at SOS or otherwise to give a training on that topic of international driver's licenses and how, in a method in which to determine validity.
That would be a good thing for the district judges association.
Right, because I mean, that's where the district court is where you're gonna see them all the time.
Yes. Well, otherwise, what's the purpose of having an otherwise it's meaningless.
Correct. And I think we see more of
the research I did on the Indian guy led me to believe it was valid, although he had failed to dot one I or cross one T or something.
Because he was originally from New York, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a truck driver and had some, I remember that case. That was a unique situation. But it would be helpful for the cities to know, okay, or Pam, if they would put something on regarding this is how you determine, here's resources that we
Yeah.
have. I mean, right now.
Pam might have something. You know, when Melissa was a defense attorney, she would say, well, I don't think this is valid. I said, well, then why don't you write me a brief on it?
Yeah.
Of course, she never did. That's like, well, I looked at this on the internet, and so it's never been definitive. But in my opinion, the international driver's license would give him the authority to drive if he had a valid Guatemalan license.
So I've seen some Mexican licenses that were from Mexico, the different provinces there, that had a QR code that would scan, and it took you to that jurisdiction's thing and had like, and now if that's a fake, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
You QR code it into their system and it actually showed some validity.
Well, that's an even harder question. I'm licensed in Jalisco. I'm in Michigan. I'm driving. All right, where's the line? Is it 2 weeks or 2 months or 6 months?
And that's where we get a lot. It's like, well, how long have you been here? I've been here a year and a half. Okay, well, at some point you have to get, and you've been living here, you have to get a Michigan license. And I think just because you get an international driver's license doesn't solve the problem, are you here legally? Because you could cross the border with an international license that you obtained while in Guatemala.
Well, the rule says if you're not here legally,
right,
it doesn't affect, unless you're a treaty country.
Right.
So if you're from a non-treaty country and you're here illegally, nothing matters.
Right.
But if you're on a treaty country and you're here illegally, so you're right, it would be a great topic for a training.
Because it's something that, I mean, I don't take it lightly if you're charging somebody and they seem to have what appears to be valid documents. And if they're valid, you don't want to charge them or have them convicted of something that they shouldn't be.
Well, I was going to suggest a session on how to read a driver's license, driving record.
That's a lost art.
It sure is. We had a judge, his name is Judge Meineke. He's from Detroit area, and he runs what he calls
He runs Operation Drive. He still runs it.
driver restoration court or something. He tries to help people get their license back.
Okay.
And he says he's helped 1,700 people. But, you know, if we count ours, we adjourn this, go get your license, and we'll give you a 257, 326. We've got hundreds of those ourselves, but he puts them on probation for like 2 years and makes them go get, anyway, he was showing driving records on the screen and says, this means this, and this means this. You're right, reading a driving record is a lost art. Plus, the rules have changed.
Yeah.
I used to understand it real well. This little mark means this. This little mark. So I'm going to suggest that we have a session on reading a driving record and understanding foreign driving privileges.
I know that last year at the Michigan Association of Municipal Attorneys, there was an attorney there that has a nonprofit, ran some stuff that assisted in Detroit, probably in Judge Monaco's court, on getting people their driver's licenses and state IDs back. Now, I talked to them after the session, and of course, they don't have the undocumented issue that we have here. Theirs is mostly poverty.
Yes.
Unable to get a birth certificate, unable to get the 3 pieces of identification.
Yeah,
you know,
it's all that.
those types of issues, which is a little bit more workable if you can get them established, get them set up somewhere with a library card or some other types of identification. But here it's like, well, I mean, you're just out of luck. You're here illegally. You have no ability. You're never going to get it.
Yes.
So I think some of ours are workable. Other ones are just going to be in that trap that you're never going to get a license. But, well, I will see you at about 1:20.
Okay. No, 1:30. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Oh, dang it. Hold on. I think it must have been before that. How did I screw that up too? Give me just a minute. Okay, hold on, I found it. All right. One more time. I found the nugget.
All right, thank you.
Is that it for your morning?
Yeah, that's, we ended with a bang or a thud. Yes, that's it for my morning.
When I was referee, that was the hardest part, was maintaining order and knowing that, of course, people were upset, but that, I always really struggled with that.
I don't do it a lot. In fact, we just had a session on contempt and they said, take a breath, count to 100. So I let her go the first time and then she bullshitted me on the way out. And then I came back in to not find her in contempt. And then she did it again.
I'll
So,
expect my subpoena from TJ.
oh boy. And two things I said are correct. She is not going to be satisfied and she uses her victim as a weapon.
My conversations with Mr. Knopfinger about, consults on that case. I know it's been
And they could have charged it as a felony. They didn't. And, it's like, she didn't do anything to endear herself to them. She was fuck you with Dave Marvin, and the bailiffs and the victim witness staff. And, so Mr. Marvin wasn't going to go out of his way, although it would have been helpful if someone from the prosecutor's office had shown up.
No, that's recurring theme.
Yes, but according to TJ, they're paying Jim Mequio $3,000 a week to be a special prosecutor. Seemed like he could have come in for this. Anyway, thank you, Ross.
Victims upstairs, and they were victims of juveniles like larcenies, and they would just want hands cut off, that victim impact opening.
Well, I am going to use this as an example for judge sentencing.
Where you have a victim that wants execution and nothing else will satisfy them.
Now, it did surprise me that he had alcohol in his system because I didn't see that anywhere. And I'm not saying she wasn't being truthful, but I guess I better make some notes in that case.
Well, have a good lunch. How about that?
Thank
you.
you.
For a walk around the building.
And that was the little extra nugget, was him talking to the other attorney that witnessed everything. Hi, Billy. Oh, got my Billy baby boy right here. He's a good boy. And he might also be some of the trouble with the editing because he walks on the keyboard. He hits the hotkeys. Like, he lays right here and then steps all over stuff while I'm editing. So part of the problem with my editing could be this wonderful bundle of joy. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Thank you. Oh, yeah. It apparently pays to be an attorney that doesn't even have to show up. He's my love. He's so wonderful. And he's so cranky right now. Every time I go to touch him, he puts his paw on my finger and pushes my hand back down. Hi, Russell. Good to see you, love. He does. He makes things so much more challenging, don't ya? I'm just glad he didn't mess up the first one, because that one I couldn't have just field tripped. Earl is the tech kitty. Yeah. I swear I thought the international driver's license conversation was before the conversation about the girl, but I guess I had it backwards. Oh well. But yeah, it was after another hearing. So that little nugget where he was dropping F-bombs, that would have been missed by people who weren't looking for more. All right, guys. Thank you for your kindness and compassion and sticking around with me, even though I messed things up. Oh my goodness. I was so excited one night with an amazing case and my amazing chat, and I wasn't going to have any technical difficulties. And I hit export and jumped in the shower, and I was going to come on early. And then it took 2 hours to export because of all of the audio edits that I had to do on the first case. I'm assuming that's why. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know. And then to have, I don't even know what happened. Oh, but I'm so happy you all stuck with me. I'm going to try to piece that back together for the Replay Crew Mini. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. Okay, I will. I'm gonna go get some sleep, and that's also part of my problem. Is I don't sleep much in the bed. I sleep better and longer at my desk, but sometimes the editing lulls me to sleep, and then I'm I'll fall asleep, my fingers on a button and trailing, and the cat is walking all over stuff. Yes, tech kitty strikes again. Thank you. We all love you, Nana Laura. Don't get too much snow. I'm so glad you made the last few minutes, Sir Philip. And the next time you see my Auntie M, can you please tell her I miss her and I love her? I know she's life in life right now, but I can't wait till I can talk to her again. I miss my friend. Oh, Sherry B, that's a nightly occurrence for me usually. Oh, my uh-oh face where I'm like, yeah, genuine uh-oh face. All right, guys. Thank you again. I love you all. I really do. Be safe, be well, sleep sweet, and much love.